Hey Brandy, okay, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to where you were with the majority of your days, what you did with the majority of your time, and then we go to an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, and then we'll go to the next important day with the relationship and feelings involved. We'll go to the death and the lesson learned, and we'll get hints of time throughout. So all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are coming through. And your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes up here and your current life. And I'll try to help however I can as well. Alright? So let's start. We'll go here. This card, where you were. This is actually what I call the nomad card. It means that usually there's like no home base, or it means that there's a lot of traveling involved. And for this, I feel like it's the travel. So I feel like we're looking at an adult male. They're putting me there at a time in his life when he's into adulthood, young man. He has like a wiry kind of frame, kind of like, I would say more like gentle features, like there's even like there's eyeglasses, and usually when they pull up eyeglasses, for example, it can mean one, if you have vision problems, if you have to wear glasses yourself in this life, it just shows kind of a connection there, or it can mean the opposite. So we make direct connections like that, or we make opposite connections where if you have really great vision in this life, it would be a connection in the way that your soul experienced something one way and now wants to come back and experience something another way. So that's the kind of connection you could be making. Now the fact that they're showing a male could be a connection in the way that if you grew up a tomboy, or find that you have more masculine like tendencies or personality in whatever way masculine means to you, it can mean that, like as far as direct connections, or it could be opposite where you find yourself like if you're a girl in this life, very girly, and if you're a man in this life, very, the opposite. So it also can speak to someone that is very balanced with their masculine and feminine energies. So however that connects with you is just a little nod in that direction of a connection. So we're looking at this young man. There's something about him, like where he's traveling. There's almost like he's traveling around. It feels like, I would say like Switzerland, at least is where it starts. And then it kind of goes around, almost like if he is presenting something in a certain place and it becomes popular, it would like spread. But it feels like it's him, like his services, whatever he does. And it does feel like services. And it's almost like, I want to say one feature about this person is he feels like, for lack of a better term, bookish. So if that could be a connection as well with you, if you're a reader, or you were a reader, or just you enjoy that kind of cozying up with a book thing, that would be a connection as well. And so we said Swiss, so Switzerland, it feels Swiss because it feels also like there's something about this person that deals with technology, like an emerging technology, which I feel like we're flowing into here right now with what you do with the majority of your time. So this is the science card. And the science card can mean, a scientist, but there's so much out there, right? So many fields. But in this aspect, when I feel like we're where we are, what he's doing, traveling around, it feels like we're looking at someone who has a very innovative mind, as well as almost like someone who, it's like technology to him, or like playing with new innovative ideas is like Indiana Jonesing. Like it's an adventure. It's his way of like exploring. Like it fills his mind up like that, in that sense. So it feels like what he does is either he is creating a new device, or he is adding to a device to make it better or more proficient with this technology that he's playing with. And it has to, and what they're showing me is like almost like he goes like a door-to-door visit kind of thing with people to, it feels like he's like adding on a piece to this like a device, almost like a ear amplifier is what it, for like this, it's just the image they're showing me is like him fiddling with people's ears. So it could be something, it feels like it could be something like an ear amplifier, and like he's added something to make it even better. So this feels like we're looking at the 20th century. And hold on. So what you could do, for example, could be Googling ear devices, Switzerland, see if I like see where the how their technology on that kind of thing is, or it's also like whatever's around Switzerland. So I feel like this spreads even like it spreads to like there's northern, like going into Italy, maybe even Spain. Like it just spreads through. It's like a Western Europe kind of thing, so it's like spreading through, but I feel like it originates again. But it's almost like if there's something, I'm not really great with geography, so please look at what is around Switzerland, because it can also be like on the cusp of Switzerland if it shares with like a small country. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's just where this person started. It's not where they end up, and that's why we get the nomad card. But if you've been drawn in your current life to technology, innovation, you like inventing things, thinking up new ideas, or maybe you're someone who can take you're like an everyday item and make it better, or use it in a way that is easier to use and you could show people. Like maybe if that's a connection, it could speak to, again, a personality that you come up with new things or you try new things. Or maybe you're even looking for something new. Like maybe you've had thoughts of like, oh, I could invent a certain app or something like that. To look into those things, this would be like encouraging you to play into any curious natured ideas you might have, because it feels like what it does is it gets you in a zone or a place in your mind that's very kind of like a high vibrational thing, like it's the thing that if you get into depressions, it can bring you out of it when you think of like creating new ideas. It's almost like there's an artistic edge to it. Even though we're looking at the science card, I don't like to separate art and science, quite frankly. I think there should be no separation. So this could also be an indicator for you if you're looking into a new hobby, if you don't know where to go, or maybe you found something, but if you don't know where to go, then look into something that is creative in the sense of you creating things, maybe even with a technological edge to it, whatever it may be. So keep that in mind. Keep making connections too where you can when it comes to that science card, but also, when it comes to where you are in the world, it can also, like in your current life, could be a connection in the way that you might be really pulled towards Switzerland, or you've seen photos and you're like, oh my god, it's breathtaking, that's where I want to be. And I know a lot of people are like that with Switzerland, but it would be more of an emotional kind of understanding or trigger or connection. So that's also, it can indicate someone who you might like to, if you're someone who likes to travel, but more so like traveling, like jetting out here and back, jetting out here, like where you like to go exploring kind of like on day trips or things like that. If that's your gig, that would be a connection to this, because it feels like he was constantly just like doing these day trips all over the place and you loved it. So this also speaks to someone who may be very good at, adjusting. Like if there's change and you have to make adjustments, or you're moving and you have to adjust. If you find that you are someone that is very good at adjusting quickly to change, that would be a connection. Or there'd be the opposite connection, where you're someone who just likes things to stay the same and rooted down and you're good, routine. So that would be an opposite connection, but a connection nevertheless, alright? So keep that in mind. And we're going to go to the first important day. So, the first important day here is the move, let's go card. And usually this card means like fleeing, for lack of better words. But this, I feel like, has to do with what you're doing. It's almost like as you're traveling for your job or your work, there's a moment where it's like you have to leave early or something is happening. So I'm waiting for more information to come through, but we're going to move along to the relationship involved in this day, which is the spouse card. So the spouse card usually indicates, someone you're married to, or in this case, it feels like it's like this day I feel like you're put together with the person you're going to eventually marry. Not that you're married already. So really it's okay, so what it feels like is you're visiting a town or a place, and for some reason the place where you're at, it's almost like it's like you're visiting like a I think it's like, it feels like a hospital, but it's like a clinic, like more like a clinic, but it's for you to get work done. So it's almost like a laboratory type place, and it feels like it has to be evacuated because something happened with either a chemical or there's a fire started or whatever it is, and they're evacuating the building. And it's interesting because it feels like in the evacuation of this building, you run into this person, and you and her start up a conversation. She works there too, almost like, I don't know if it's like a secretary or another scientist or someone like a tester in the lab or something like that. There's something very like there's a common thread of intelligence, and that is the link between them that begins the love. So this is an interesting day that you meet your partner, and I feel like it's coming up more so as a message for you in regards to any relationship you may be in or looking for, more so romantically, but it could be best friend stuff as well, but it feels more romantic, where it's like, if you're in a relationship and it's going well, it would be because you're with someone who like speaks your languages, or it's like on your level with like intelligence, like stimulates your mind, makes you laugh kind of thing, just really gets you like on that page. And if it's not going so well, it would be a message for you to really look at the person as a whole and see if that is the area that is where you guys are not getting along, is in the intelligence section. Like, you know, is this person not stimulating you anymore or properly, so to speak? You know, are they not able to keep up with your intellect and your needs in that way? Just something to look at kind of thing. Now, if you're not in a relationship, this would be a message for you to make sure that this is, or to keep a, what's it, like let's say you're not with someone and then you meet somebody and it's like they stimulate your mind, and that stimulates all of you. Like it's a very coming together, or the meeting of the minds is what it feels like. So if you're not seeing someone and this person comes and someone comes onto your radar that is like, wow, we're really on the same page, meeting of the minds, able to speak your language in that way, wait for that person. Really, that will be your person. So keep that in mind. Now the feeling is neutral, because it feels like, it's interesting because it's like your guys, it's like when you evacuate the building, everyone, you know, goes out to like an area, obviously a bit away, and everyone's talking or whatever. And so when you guys start talking, it is about like work, and you know, it's not like this instant like stars in your eyes, oh my god, you know, that kind of thing, which is actually something important to keep aware of, because it's almost like a little message of like, not everything begins the way that you see it should. Like almost like give things a second chance, not like a, you know, third, fourth, fifth chance if it's hurting you, but give things a second chance, or like something about like not everything is what you think it is right away. So that's what this feels like, because it feels like you guys are talking and it's like, oh, a friendship is being formed, there's a bond happening, but it's not like this overriding lust or passion or anything like that. Which it feels like is very important as far as like what is important in one's life, like, or like priorities, you know, what's priority? Do you want long-term, steady, reliable, and you know, with like just, what's it called, like just a steady flame of, you know, love basically? Or do you want the thing that's kind of risky and it's, you know, easy to go out kind of thing, like just a match, like a flame that can go out, you can blow it out right away, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like, make sure you're prioritizing things correctly at this point in your life. It's not saying don't take risks, it's just saying give things a chance and feel things out as well, and don't get blindsided by things that don't matter anymore, that may once have been so like emotional to you, or as things that you may have attached to emotionally. Just keep going as far as like feeling out the relationship, and this way it feels like it's a relationship, but this can also be other scenarios too. Like if something is coming to mind as I'm talking, that's the thing that these are referring to. Okay, so that's like using your own intuition. So as I'm talking, if things are coming up in your mind, as I say things and you're like, oh, that makes me think of this, trust that it's your intuition. So keep making connections where you can here. And then the little message of saying something about like, don't judge neutral, as far as like neutral is not bad. However this means to you, like it could be like someone in your life, let's say, doesn't react the way you want them to react all the time. It doesn't mean that they don't care, or that they aren't feeling anything. It just means that people react differently, like that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. So next important day. Here is the Wowzer card. I like this card a lot. I think it goes like that. The Wowzer card is when something like big happens in a way where it like wakens your soul or brings you up to the next soul level, or it could just be something that's like really extremely interesting, where it just like gets you like you know how you can get in a mindset of like, I'm going to bring up Indiana Jones again, 'cause I don't know why, but like bringing that up where it's like a mindset of like discovery and like a journey and exploring and things like that. That's what this can be as well. So the family card is involved for the relationship, which we are going to get some info. I'm just waiting for them to download that. And the feeling is grateful, which I love this card because gratitude is everything. So what is happening here? Okay, wow, okay. So this is interesting. It's almost like a piece of you that it was like a piece of you was dormant until an active switch was flipped on, and then it woke up something in you that you never felt before. And it's the kind of thing that you wouldn't even know about until you feel it. So what we're seeing here is it feels like the day you create a family. So we're looking at the birth of someone, and I'm trying to see if it's son or daughter, but you are there, and you and your partner I think you're married, it's like a wife, so you and the wife or whatever are having a family. So there's a kid coming in, and I want to say it's a girl, and this like wakes up a part of you. It's almost like something that you again would never have known had you not just become a father. Like there's something about stepping into the shoes of fatherhood that is very like triggering for you in this life. And I feel like it's like something having to do with your own parents. It's almost like what is it? Like if in this childhood is like neglected almost, like sent away to school, not really a lot of interaction with your own parents. So for here, what's going to happen is it feels like you are breaking the pattern and going to be a very involved parent here. And it's like the work you do allows you to give yourself the hours to do that, so to speak. I'm trying to see if... So what happened was when you stopped in this place to do this work where there was the fire, the evacuation, it feels like you left and continued on but stayed in touch with her and eventually came back to that place, and it's almost like you set up a home base office. Even though the traveling still occurs, it's not as often and it's more nearby here. Yeah, the only thing coming through as far as like the place, it begins with the letter L. It might be like something like honestly what's coming to mind is the word Luxembourg, and I know it's a place somewhere, not sure where, and it might not be that, so bear with me, but that's what's coming to mind. So it might be definitely starts with an L and ends with a erg, or like a berg, or something like that. But look that up and see if it vibes with you in that way. That's just what's coming through here as far as a home base. And this feeling of gratitude is what happens is like your whole entire being evolves on this day when you step into fatherhood. How you can connect with that could be in your current life, your view on children, having children. Are you someone that loves the idea of creating a family and you love parenthood in that way, or you've had good ideal you've had good ideals about it growing up? Or opposite, you could be coming back in this lifetime to move forward without children or creating a family in that way, only because you experienced it so thoroughly here that you might come back and want more of like an independent lifestyle in this life. So it could be either or. Let's see. And then, oh, it's the gratitude card. So this is always a message, really, when it comes to the gratitude card, of to remember to, as often as you can, be in a state of grace. As often as you can, look around and find things to be grateful for. It's so helpful in so many ways. If you're down or depressed or anxious or whatever it is, you have your go-to list of things you can be grateful for, because it could be as simple as, I'm grateful to have a roof over my head, I'm grateful to wake up to another day, whatever it is. And that brings your vibes up too, and it's just a good state of mind to be in. So it's like almost like healthy. It's almost like when you are in a state of grace or when you're being grateful, it's like a dose of healthy energy running through you. So it keeps you in that state, which is really good. So that's why you want to be there as well. But what you want to do is keep making connections to the family card. Hold on. This can also be like if you don't have kids. It could be, hold on a second. What was it? So if you don't have kids, it could be that this is a message for you, like if you're thinking about it, maybe another one even, or like you're considering it in whatever way, this card would be encouraging you to just move along with the feelings that feel right and good to you. Like what is exciting to you. What would bring you the most joy at this time. So, I mean, if you're on the fence, you really got to just pay attention to those feelings, because it's like either way, so keep making connections where you can. With the Wowzer card, family card, right this day, of creating a family. It's like a next leveling up, so it can also speak to what's coming very soon for you as a leveling up, but it doesn't mean family necessarily. It can also mean like career, relationship, or just building a skill, getting to a new level, mastering something, things like that. So keep that in mind, okay, if anything relates or connects with that as well. So let's go to the death card. So the death card here is the accident card. I'm just trying to see what they're trying to show me with this card. So okay, so there's something that you work with that has a chemical to it, and it feels like it's been the buildup of a chemical that you're working with over time, years and years, and it puts something in your body that makes you weak. And it's almost like, I want to say a cancer, but it's just because of the buildup of this kind of like highly toxic material that you didn't know was toxic. And I feel like feels like we're in the late 60s or like the mid 60s, and it shows me like you're in a a very sterile environment, and it's not the death, it's what leads. It's like you're in, because the environment you're in is not breathable. Like there's no ventilation and the chemicals, and so it feels like you passed because of a buildup, basically, and it feels like you are in your 60s as well. So it could either be you're in your 60s or we're looking at the 1960s. It could be both. If you've ever been drawn to the era of the 1940s and 50s and 60s, for the aesthetic in any way, or for just like the culture itself. If you've ever seen photos, whatever, heard of the times and been drawn to the 40s, 50s, it feels like the prime for him would be like 40s, 50s. But maybe the cusp of 60s as well. Anyway, so that would be a connection if you can connect with that. But also, there's this buildup of chemicals is interesting, because it's like, it may mean that you're allergic to some things, or some things trigger you, can give you hives, you're sensitive. It could be sensitive to certain foods, drinks, or chemicals alone, like certain chemicals in the shampoos or detergents. You might be really sensitive to that. So if you find that you are sensitive to things like that, or have allergies in chemicals or makeup or certain fluids, if anything, it could be foods, allergies, allergies. So if you have that, it would be a connection to here. Almost like it's like fighting off, still wanting to fight off the chemicals from this life. So it's really interesting, because when you go into hypnosis and you do past life regression therapy and all that, you can actually alleviate a lot of those symptoms, and you might be interested in that if you do have allergies. Just know that anything you are making a connection with here can be, like, let's say it's an emotional issue of some sort, it could be moved past, or a physical one like allergies, it can be taken away through, well, hypnotherapy does that pretty well, or meditation. Even if you have intended meditation, that you can do self-healing. If you look it up, there's a lot of techniques you can use. But I'm just saying that so that you know that once you're aware of something, you can always, I guess, either conquer it or alleviate it in some way, or at least acknowledge that, making the connection itself makes it a lot easier to understand you. So keep making connections where you can as we've gone along. Now, the last card here is the lesson. And the lesson here is love others. And I think the main point as far as how it connects here was, up until you had this wowzer day, it feels like there was a lot of love there. But you're in the business of, building your life what makes you happy. And that's good and well and fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the lesson came after you felt like, okay, I did all my, I've been doing my work. This is about me, my life, kind of like a loner type of thing. Not that you don't have friends, but your work takes you to places by yourself kind of deal. Until this happens. And then this is the day when I said, remember, we were talking about how part of you got switched on or activated. It's almost like this was the day that this lesson was learned. It was like you were waiting, only experiencing kind of self-love, until this day activated a kind of unconditional love that you now felt for your family, for this child. What it does is it really steps you up a whole level when you can activate your unconditional love. And I feel like that's coming through here too, because it could be that you already know about this and you feel it, and that is your kind of like your goal is to be as loving a being as you possibly can in your life. Or this can also be a message for you to let you know that when push comes to shove, the more you're able to turn to like a state of lovingness, even if like someone is doing you wrong or whatever it is, that you take a step back and look at the big picture, and just it's more like a forgiveness kind of thing. Like, have that forgiveness handy and the state of grace handy, and just always, as much as you can, come from a state of love, even if someone's trying your patience or something like that. Just see them as opportunities to be a loving being, even though it's hard to take the higher road sometimes. But I feel like that's what this is saying, is being able to unconditionally love yourself can activate your it can activate how you are going to be or are capable of unconditionally loving others. So keep making connections with the love others card where you can. And then there was also something that I wanted to point out, was just a few more details that are coming through here. So we wanted to point out that this person, we want to point out that there is a consistency to his wardrobe, which may be a connection if you feel comfortable wearing like what you might consider a uniform. Not a uniform, it could be uniform, maybe you do wear a uniform, but what I mean by that is like the same clothes every day. Like maybe you're like a jeans and t-shirt person and you're just always in that's like the kind of thing people always remember you wearing, that kind of thing. If you wear something that people always remember you wearing, that's what it feels like, because there's a consistency to his outfit. Then we also want to touch base on what came through is the spouse card. So this person, it feels like when we're talking about them, that is someone in your life that you would know now, but not necessarily a romantic partner. We're looking at someone here who is serious but has a good sense of humor. Like, understands when things are funny, but the funniness has to be intellectual, or it has to be very witty. So it's like someone who has standards for their humor that you may know today. If someone is coming into your mind, that would be that person. Doesn't matter if they're male or female. But there's something also, like when they're serious, they can be very serious and analytical. So there's also someone who is able to really like understand you where you are, reach into your mind almost, like they may know exactly, like, you know, you be trying to describe something, and then they'll be able to kind of like pin down exactly how you feel, like with one sentence kind of thing. So if someone comes into mind for that could be that person. So keep making connections where you can. So the move let's go card, though, also we want to talk really quickly what came through about the building, the fire. So there's something about that, and there was a quick little nugget of fear that ran through you, which may still be in there, might be a connection. The fear has to do with losing your work, or losing things, or not getting credit where it's due. So if you have ever had issues in your life where you feel like these three things, so it's either like losing something, if you feel like, oh, I'm going to lose something, or you're scared of forgetting something, or you feel like you left something on when you leave the house, or again, just like the fear of loss in general, just loss, that would be a connection here, because it was a very like quick stab of fear, because you had to leave your work behind, and it was like, it's almost like you left a lot in the building, but it's not that it burned, it's just the fear of like, oh my god, it might be lost and I might have to start over again. So that could be also someone that doesn't like change, so keep that in mind. But then again, we are looking at someone who traveled and would like traveling, so that in itself is kind of change. So connect how you can with there. And then the third thing was not getting credit for your work. Just the idea of not being, like, if you had to start again, someone else, it's almost like feels a little bit competitive, like someone else is creating something very similar and you're like way ahead of them, but you know that there's competition out there. So if you have a competitive streak, or again, if you fear not getting credit for your work, or this has happened to you, like a theme in a sense, like you feel like you haven't been recognized in a certain way by certain people, or a company you work for, whatever it was, that would be a connection as well. But it would also be a message for you to not worry about that anymore, and the fear, it's time to let it go, because it doesn't serve you. It's from this time anyway, and everything will work out just fine as far as when it comes to, you know, losing things or not getting credit. Like, it's going to be okay. So if you connect with that, great. And if not, if you don't make connections to things that I'm saying, then that's perfectly fine and good. It's just coming through for a reason. But all these things that we go over really have to resonate with you. It's important that, you know, it resonates with you, and you don't take anything into you that does not feel good or right. So keep making connections to that. Also, I think I just want to make sure we touched on time, but I want to make sure we touched on the roots, as far as how you feel about setting roots down, commitments. Just a little message that if you find that it's hard for you to commit, doesn't mean relationship. It can mean like just meeting people at a certain time. Like, you just don't want to meet anyone. You might want to have an open schedule. You might want to be like just like a free bird kind of thing. Like, so if you're someone that does that, also someone that, you know, might even cancel plans last minute just so you can have the freedom to do this, like be by yourself kind of thing, that would be a connection as well. So anyway, keep making connections where you can with that. Keep making connections with the day of the fire. It could also be a fear of fire, by the way, slight but possible. Connections with the spouse that we went over, the expectations of people feeling neutral, or not just people feeling neutral, but what it's like to be neutral as well. It's all right to be in a neutral place. I know we spoke of others and how others react and how you may perceive others' reactions, but this is also yourself. Like, don't be frustrated with yourself if you do feel like you're in limbo sometimes, or like zoned out, or neutral about something, when people, maybe others say, oh, you should be happy, or you should be this way, or whatever. Just get rid of the should, and be okay dwelling in like your own void. It's not a bad place to be. It's just, you know, it can be uncomfortable because people aren't used to being okay, just like being still and with themselves. So that could also be a quick little message of, hey, time to be still, time to be with yourself, which can also be, in other words, meditation, but it could just be take time for yourself. So keep making connections there. Connections with the Wowzer card, step up when creating a family, triggering, accessing a new part of yourself emotionally, which also could be a little message of something maybe coming up very soon for you that's going to do that, activating something long dormant or yet to be perceived. The family card, and gratitude, grace. Alright, so keep making connections where you can, and I hope you enjoyed your past life. I hope you made some connections today, and thank you for being patient with me, and have a great day.